Well, here we go, guys. We have our Red Terran player from the team TSL in the bottom right win one game, this game specifically, and he goes home with the $600 prize. That's 500 plus the 100 bounty on this guy's head in the blue from the team Dignitas. It is do or die time for SjoW. Will he be able to do, or will he die?
Cake or death?
I'll take cake, please.
Death. I mean, cake. Cake. Well, you said death
death
first. I love Eddie Izzard.
That is like one of the funniest live shows ever, though.
Yeah.
That DVD.
Yup.
Of that live show. So it's not really live when I watched it, but
it wasn't live when I watched it either.
It was live when it was filmed. Anyway.
Yes, that is true.
It's pretty good.
Yep.
It's funny. Starts with a section about San Francisco, actually.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Alcatraz.
Alcatraz.
You know, I have not been there yet.
What?
I have not been to Alcatraz.
I recommend it. It's of the touristy things in the city to do.
It's pretty cool.
I really enjoyed it.
The Rock.
I'm a big history buff.
Welcome
as
to the
well,
Rock.
So yes,
Sean
Connery.
I'm more of when I see touristy things, I'm more of like a
Junior.
I want to see like really old stuff, right? Like ancient palaces and temples, or I want to go like hiking or something, right?
Yeah.
I like to get out in nature and stuff. So honestly, I mean, Alcatraz is cool, but it's not really like my type of touristy thing, I guess.
Yeah, surprises people the 10-story tall hike to the top, though. So I enjoy it. It is fun though. It is well worth visiting once.
All right.
I must say.
Maybe I'll do it. You convinced me. Maybe I'll do it.
Well, Polt is going to go for a Wonder-Axe gasless fast expand here, unless he wants to throw some sort of weird curveball at us with multiple barracks. His opponent, SjoW, on the other hand, though, is going for gas on pretty normal timing. So no gas first, but will still certainly have a little bit of tech at his disposal. Yep.
That is correct. Now, Ohana's a pretty big map, right? I mean, kind of obvious, but it has some impacts in different matchups. In TVT, players can be a little bit more tempted to go with Banshees, or they can be more tempted to do what our players are probably going to do, which is expand fairly quickly. At least we're going to have Polt do that anyway. SjoW does have a gas, so he may decide to go for something a little bit more tech-oriented, but there are some fairly early expands you can do that do involve gas as well, so we'll see.
It looks like SjoW is going to head down a reactor first and immediately into a second gas before his factory comes up. Oh, but of course, looks like Polt is going to be able to pick up on it.
Yep, sees the reactor, sees the second gas.
There we go.
Yep, does see the second gas. Sees pretty much everything. So he's, again, going to have just all the information he could ever want and more.
It's true.
He could Google SjoW's build right now, and he wouldn't get any more information than he already has.
That's an uncomfortable amount of information. All he wants and more? Oh, I was done a little while ago. Please.
Polt could write the Wikipedia article on SjoW's build. He's like, yeah, I know everything.
Yep.
No back and forth.
He even sees exactly when the factory comes up.
Yeah.
So.
It's a big deal.
Oof.
There it is.
Let's see here now. Someone howling like a banshee outside
I heard that. That was
outside
not sure if that was like a ghost
studio.
or a baboon or something like that.
Maybe a ghost baboon.
We hear strange sounds around the IGN offices sometimes. I mean, I suppose it makes sense, but there's some weird stuff that happens.
It is an eclectic place to work, but a very fun place to work. So
sure.
And let's see here now as SjoW, with that factory almost finished up, has a ton of gas saved. And what strategy will he steer down here in a bit? We'll probably see that starport right away. But, of course, is he going to go right for Cloaked Banshees? Is he going to go for super fast Marine tank Viking/medevac?
Well, it's definitely going to be some sort of one-base play with that second barracks. Is it going to be maybe just Marine Marauder tank? Possibly. Well, he's getting his starport as well. So, yeah, I mean, it could be just a lot of Marines. A couple tanks, some medevacs or Vikings thrown in there, just kind of a big, strong one-base push. It is something, remember, this is kind of like what I had said earlier on the game on Antigua. It's safe. You can push out and do a decent amount of damage with it, so it's not a bad opening, but it is rather basic, though, too. There's not a lot of surprise to it. It's just kind of, hey, there's a strong push. Can you defend it? Let's find out.
Well, it looks like it could very well just be Cloaked Banshees, as there's
too.
Cloak and there's a Banshee. So,
yeah,
back on Polt's side of things, if he's prepared for this, then he is going to be A-OK. If he's able to shut this down pretty quickly, because that'll destroy the economic advantage that SjoW would get by killing a lot of SCVs. Oh, and he scans
very nice.
Just the right time. It's actually going to be a Cloaked Banshee tank Marine push, so this is pretty all in off of one base.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a hugely strong push in TVP. It's also a hugely strong push in TVT as well, if it's controlled appropriately. SjoW is pretty good at it. So It's going to definitely be something that Polt should be a bit worried about, but now that he knows what's happening, he's kind of got all the time in the world to prepare. He's going to want to continue to keep scouting, though, because you never know. Sometimes after a Terran player will get scanned like that, or anyone really, they'll just completely change what they're doing, just kind of flip it on its head just to kind of mess with his opponent. Might be a little bit too late for SjoW to do that in this game, but it's something that you kind of need to be aware of, you know, when you scan.
First Cloaked Banshee and the first tank is coming out now. SjoW starting to send some stuff across, not pulling any SCVs or anything like that, but Polt, on the other hand, he is about ready to finish up Stim. It's less than 50 seconds away, so depending on how long this attack takes to come up for SjoW, Polt could do quite a bit of damage. Of course, after 4 games, these players switch colors on us, so apologize if we miscall the players here.
That's right. Oh, SjoW's Banshee taking a little bit of damage here. Cloak is done, though, so he can use it. He just wants to wait until his other units get there, you know?
Right, and maybe wants to get his opponent to try and burn some scans.
Oh, he loses the Banshee. What? SjoW.
Oh, no.
SjoW, you had Cloak, man.
I think
he didn't need to lose that Banshee. I think SjoW's kind of falling apart a little bit here.
I think he just wanted to convince his opponent that he didn't have Cloak, so he would use mules and you know, would waste his scans.
Could be. That's like a long way to go. I mean, and he sends in the Cloak Banshee right away here, and Polt knows it's there. So I'd like to think it would be that. I'd like to give SjoW the benefit of the doubt, but I don't know, man. I think he just kind of lost a Banshee there in that case.
Well, unfortunately, there are scans up for Polt as well, so SjoW's going to have to back out of there. Here comes SjoW. Look at this. There's already a tank in position.
Wow.
A lot of Marines get flattened.
Yeah.
And Polt now sitting on a vastly superior economy. He hasn't taken any damage from those Banshees quite yet, so...
Yeah, it just didn't quite hit soon enough. I mean, this is, like I said, this is a good push for Terran versus Protoss, but in TVT, you do have plenty of time to be ready for it. You know, getting siege tanks, getting Cloak Banshees, that's a lot of time that your opponent has to react and get siege mode. You know, normally this push works because Terran players don't get siege mode quite as quick, but remember, SjoW basically was found out early on. You know, Polt saw everything that he was doing, so he had time to make those kind of little modifications to his build and respond appropriately to it.
And it looks like SjoW is going to try and double expand out of this. But I've got to say, there's a pretty devastating push that could be coming out of Polt very, very soon. And he himself is starting a 3rd command center, so he's not going to be all that far behind when these command centers finish up. In fact, he's still at a 21 worker advantage for now.
Well, that's the thing is that, yeah, SjoW's going to have these command centers, but he still needs to use them to catch up in the SCV count. So Polt's certainly not going to become behind economically really anytime soon. You got to feel bad for SjoW. I mean, it's just been in a rough position from the early game every single time.
And as you can see here, SjoW does have 2 Banshees sitting around the outside, but Polt is already patrolling Vikings back and forth, so he's going to have a great advanced detection, and he's going to be able to drop at the same time, as SjoW really doesn't have a lot in the way of defense.
Yeah, not a whole lot. He doesn't really have a lot of units to spare at this point, and even the ones he has don't have stim, I believe. You know, they don't have combat shields. They can't really get there in time to really respond effectively. Polt, though, being very cautious with this drop. He knows his opponent does have a decent army somewhere.
And looks like SjoW does see that that's there, so you know, Polt really not going to get a whole lot done here. He's going to have to pick up and move away. Loses 2 Marines, takes out a couple himself, so really no harm, no foul, but does succeed in keeping SjoW on his toes a little bit and pinned inside of his base.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I mean, Polt just showed great patience there with that drop. He's like, all right, I'm not going to do any damage with this. Might as well get out of here. I don't need to lose any units uselessly.
And let's see now as Polt pulling back with that drop. He will take control of the Zelnaga Towers, which is certainly nice. And SjoW's going to have to get his Marines away, and does, for the most part. One of them dies. But Polt's starting to push his way across the map with a pretty devastating force. He's up by 25 workers, so there's about a 15 supply difference in terms of army. But don't forget, Stim's not done. Combat Shields isn't done for SjoW. That's all things that Polt already has in store.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be really tough for SjoW to hold this off. We're going to have to see if Polt decides to engage correctly. Oh, the Marines just getting destroyed by those siege tanks.
Wow, and SjoW is just down to basically his tanks, and that is it. Polt even could drop on top of his opponent's forces here in a second if he wants. Looks like a few more Marines are coming back, so it makes it a little bit dicier, but had an opening there. Now going to play a little bit more patiently and just kind of move around the side and continue to press his advantage, up by 56 supply.
Yep, I think he's going to probably siege up right on this low ground outside the main, too. He's got enough medevacs that he can just kind of ferry things up and force SjoW to come to him. This is a dangerous situation for this particular map. Yep, and now SjoW has to pull back. Will he be able to get into position in time, though?
I don't know. He's starting to siege up here underneath the low ground and does pick off a couple of Marines, but unfortunately, a reactor could go down very quickly. No, it looks like a couple of tanks are going to fall.
Wow.
One of them goes down right away, a second down to just 13 hit points, and SjoW does have to pull back for now.
Well, yeah, Polt knows that in this position, it's the best thing for him to be taking out those very expensive units, right? I mean, you don't need to have a very good economy to produce a lot of Marines, but you do need a pretty good economy to consistently produce enough tanks and have a chance of catching up to your opponent's tank count. So, yeah, tanks are definitely going to be the #1 priority for Polt.
And I want to add, I'm sorry that the Banshees tried to make their way in, but this Viking already picked up on one of them. The other was dispatched up very quickly. So the Banshees for SjoW not really amounting to all that much. So Polt reinforcing with a huge attack, sitting at 153 supply. Looks like he just wants to push in for the kill now.
Yep, that's right. He could win this game quite soon, but we'll see. I mean, SjoW doesn't have a bad defensive position really at all. So he could manage to hold off Polt for a little bit anyway.
Yeah, very much so. And Polt doesn't have any of his Vikings up at the front, so the air war will go to SjoW at least for now. He has pretty good positioning on those Vikings, and we'll see if Polt, in kind of classic Polt style, wants to make a big drop into the main and pull his opponent's forces out of position, or if he's going to play it a little bit more patiently and just wait to max.
Well, he could. I mean, he could do it either way. But yeah, patience is definitely a virtue, right? I mean, that's how the old saying goes. It certainly applies to TVT, but Polt looks like he's done with being patient. It is time.
Yeah, and it looks like one Viking does go down. Oh, but the air war is going to come back to Polt, and he is indeed going to drop into the main. SjoW forced to pull everything back at the moment. Polt runs forward a little bit cavalierly with some of those Marines, but it looks like he thinks that he has enough that he can just throw waves of units at his opponent, and he is going to be able to take out basically everything here for SjoW. SjoW down to just 94 supply and on the brink of being eliminated from IPL Fight Club.
Yeah, I think that's going to be about it for SjoW. Unfortunately, Polt has a really huge lead right now. He's been able to harass the third base a little bit as well, but these production buildings getting taken out are really what's going to do it for Polt.
Yeah, looks like a couple of tanks trying to make their way back into position, but SjoW, I'm sorry, for SjoW, but Polt, he does already pick one of those off. He's got so many Marines on the high ground, he could even start ferrying his tanks up there if he wants to. Oh yeah, it looks like that's exactly what he's going to do.
Yep. And why not? I mean, he's got a perfect defense here. SjoW with a scan kind of showing what his opponent has. Trying to rebuild some of his buildings, but just doesn't look like they're going to be able to really get up in time to make a big difference in this game. SjoW not really doing any counter drops or anything like that as well.
No. I mean, this is pretty devastating now when your production gets camped like this. All hope is almost lost. We'll see if SjoW tries to break this. Indeed he is, pulling off some SEVs as well, moving down with his Marines.
This is it.
But, oh, look at the sheer firepower for Polt. He's already picked off all of the tanks. That's it. GG.
Yep.
And it is a 5-0 for TSL.Polt.